Hello friends, I am back with a brand new session of chemistry for you. Today we are going to start a new chapter, that is atomic structure and chemical bonding. Okay, now what all concepts we are going to study in this chapter? That is the basic concepts of an atom, element, then explanation of the structure of an atom, what are the different parts of an atom, that is the subatomic particles, the nucleus, then the electrons which are revolving around the nucleus, then introduction to the concept of isotopes, yes, and chemical bonding. Okay, and chemical bonding which involves both ionic bonding as well as the covalent bonding. Now starting with atom. Now, how do we define an atom? Now, atom is the smallest particle of an element which can take part in a chemical reaction and is considered as the basic unit of matter. Yes, atom is the smallest particle of an element which can actually take part in a chemical reaction and is considered the basic unit of matter. For example, OCl, O is atom of one atom of oxygen, or Cl is considered as one atom of chlorine. Okay. Then you have what is called as an element. Now element is generally a pure substance. An element is a pure substance which is made up of one kind of atoms only. For example, element oxygen. So it is made up of all the same kind of atoms. Then element chlorine will be made up of same kind of atoms. So an element is a pure substance which is made up of the same kind of atoms or only one kind of atoms, and which cannot be broken down into simpler substances either by chemical means or by physical means. So you cannot break down the element. Okay, so it is a pure substance made up of only one kind of atoms. Now if we consider the structure of an atom, yes, a structure of an atom, it consists of a centrally located nucleus. Yes, now present inside this nucleus will be the subatomic particles, that is the protons and the neutrons. Now revolving around the nucleus in imaginary parts called as the orbits, orbitals, or they are also called as the energy levels, are the subatomic particles, that is the electrons. So protons, neutrons and electrons are the three subatomic particles. Now why they are called as subatomic? Because they are present inside the atom. Okay, so protons, neutrons and electrons are the three subatomic particles present in the structure of the atom. Okay, now if you have to compare the properties of proton, neutron and electrons, now if you just have a look here, the subatomic particles, like we just discussed, are protons, neutrons and electrons. Now protons will have a charge. Now this represents the charge. They have positive charge. Protons are positively charged. Charge is +1 and mass is also 1. Now neutrons don't have any charge, so 0, and they have mass 1. Now electrons are negatively charged, so they have -1 charge and a negligible mass. So this is how you are supposed to represent protons, neutrons and electrons. So you can be asked to compare the properties of proton, neutron and electron with reference to charge. Charge is always written down with reference to charge, then mass, representation and the location, that is where they are located. So you will divide it like this, right? Proton, neutron and electron, and then say that is the charge on protons positively charged +1. Here they have no charge, and electrons are negatively charged -1. Then mass is 1. Here mass is 1 and mass is negligible. And protons, how do you represent? This is the manner of representing protons. Small p +1 1. Neutron is small n 0 1 and electron e -1 0. And location, protons are generally located in the nucleus of the atom. Neutrons are also located in the nucleus of the atom, and electrons, they are revolving around the nucleus in imaginary parts called the orbits, orbitals or energy levels. Okay, so comparison of these subatomic particles is very important. Okay, next coming to the nucleus. Now nucleus is the centrally located part of the atom, and present inside the nucleus are the protons and the neutrons. So protons and neutrons are located inside the nucleus. Now we already know that protons are positively charged and neutrons have no charge. So you can say in other words that the nucleus is positively charged because it is having the positively charged protons in it. Then orbits or the orbitals, these are the imaginary parts in which the electrons are revolving. Okay, they are the imaginary parts in which the electrons are revolving. Now the electrons will possess some energy, and that energy will depend upon its position from the nucleus. That is, if it is closest to the nucleus, it will have the least energy. Yes, that is, the energy level is called as the first energy level starting from the nucleus is called as the K shell. So K, L, M, and so on. So the one which is closest to the nucleus will have the least energy, which is the K shell, and as you proceed further, the energy will go on increasing. Okay, is it clear? Now coming to what is called as the atomic number. Now this atomic number is represented by the letter Z. Now atomic number, it is the number of protons which are present in the nucleus, or it is also equal to the number of electrons. Now an atom in general is always electrically neutral, right? Now because it is electrically neutral, see, what is attributing charge to the atom is either protons or the electrons, because protons are positively charged and electrons are negatively charged, right? Now in an atom, the number of protons is equal to the number of electrons. Okay, so it is, an atom is electrically neutral. So atomic number is either the number of protons which are present in the nucleus, or it is also equal to the number of electrons, or it is the net positive charge which is present inside the nucleus. So any one definition you can write for atomic number. Now every element will have only a particular or a specific atomic number. Yes, for example, the atomic number of oxygen is 8, nitrogen is 7. Okay, so atomic number refers to the number of protons which are present in the nucleus, which is also equal to the number of electrons, and or it is the net positive charge present inside the nucleus. Okay, designated by the letter Z. Then you have a term called as the mass number, which is represented as A. Now mass number is the total number of protons and neutrons which are present inside the nucleus. Okay, mass number refers to the total number of protons and neutrons which are present inside the nucleus. Okay, so now the collective term for the protons and neutrons is also called as the nucleons. That is the collective term, and mass number is the total number of protons and neutrons present inside the nucleus. Okay, now atomic number we said is the number of protons, yes, and mass number is proton plus neutron. So if you subtract the atomic number from mass number, you will get the number of neutrons. So simple calculations you are given many times, that is, you are given the atomic number and mass number, then asked to find the number of neutrons. Okay, so you just have to subtract the mass number, A minus Z will give you the number of neutrons. Okay, is it clear? Now coming to what is called as the electronic configuration. Now electronic configuration refers to the electrons. Yes, it refers to the electrons. Now we said that the electrons are revolving around the nucleus in imaginary paths. These imaginary paths are called as the orbits, orbitals, or the energy levels. Okay. Now how is the distribution of these electrons in the various orbits or the various energy levels? Now the distribution of these electrons in various energy levels or the orbits is nothing but the electronic configuration. Okay. So what is definition of electronic configuration? Just try to understand. It is the distribution of electrons in the various energy levels or the orbitals of the atom. Okay. Now there are certain rules for this electronic configuration. Now the first rule says that the maximum number of electrons which can be held, or which an energy level or which an orbit can hold, is given by this formula 2n squared, where n stands for the shell number. So if it is the first shell from the nucleus, that is the K shell, okay, it will be 2 into 1 squared, which is equal to 2. So K shell will have maximum capacity is 2 electrons. Okay. Then if it is the second shell, means the L shell, so 2 into 2 squared, so 4 into 2, 8. So the capacity of the second shell is 8 electrons. Okay. Then third, 3 squared is 9, 9 twos are 18. Third M shell will have maximum capacity of 18 electrons. Okay. Then N shell will have 32 electrons. So K, L, M, N and so on, those represent the energy levels or the shells starting from the nucleus. Okay, this is the first, second, third, fourth, so on. So this is our first rule, that is the maximum number of electrons which can be present in any shell is given by this rule, which is the 2n squared rule. Okay. Now there is a second rule, that is the valence shell cannot have more than 8 electrons. So valence shell always will have 8 electrons. Now that is our second rule. And the third rule says that the penultimate you understand, that is the second last shell. Second last shell cannot have more than 18 electrons. So these are the three rules for the electronic configuration which you have to remember. First is the 2n squared rule, which gives you the maximum number of electrons in any shell. Second, the valence shell cannot have more than 8 electrons. Now this second rule is applied. For example, you take the example of calcium. Now atomic number of calcium is 20. Okay. So electronic configuration, you can say, you can write it as 2, 8, and you may say 10. Yes, third shell, because capacity of the third shell is 18, so you will write 2, 8 and 10. But our second rule says that the valence shell cannot have more than 8 electrons. So you cannot put 10 electrons in the third shell, though its capacity is 18. So you will have to write 2, 8, 8 and then 2. Okay, you understood why we are writing calcium will have an electronic configuration of 2, 8, 8 and 2. Yes, because if you put 10 electrons in the valence shell, it will not comply with our second rule saying that valence shell cannot have more than 8 electrons. Okay, so you have the moment it becomes a valence shell, only 8 electrons will go in that valence in that shell, and a new shell will be formed. So calcium electronic configuration will be 2, 8, 8 and 2. Okay. So in that manner you should be able to write the electronic configuration for the first 20 elements, starting with hydrogen and ending with calcium. Okay. So later we will see how to write the electronic configuration and draw the atomic diagrams of these 20 atoms. Okay, starting from hydrogen and ending with calcium. Okay. So when you are drawing the diagrams we will draw during the Zoom session. When you are drawing the diagram of the atom, that is the structure of the atom, say hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, all of these, you will be given the atomic number and the mass number. Yes, so you will find the number of neutrons by subtracting, and then you draw the number of shells. For example, you take the example of say sodium. Sodium is atomic number 11. So electronic configuration will be 2, 8 and 1. So first you will draw the nucleus in the center, then followed by 3 shells. And in the 3 shells, accordingly you have to show the number of electrons, 2, 8 and 1. And inside the nucleus you have to mention number of protons and number of neutrons. Okay. And also label the shells. So the diagrams we will draw during the Zoom session. So total 20 diagrams we have to make for the 20 atoms. Okay. Now coming to what is called as the isotopes. Now you may have done this concept of isotopes in lower classes. Isotopes are atoms of the same element having the same atomic number but different mass number. Atoms of the same element. Okay. Isotopes are atoms of the same element having the same atomic number but different mass number. Now if atomic number is same means number of protons is same, or in other words number of electrons is also same, and mass number is different means number of neutrons are different. Now examples 3 you have to remember for isotopes. One is hydrogen. Now hydrogen exists as 3 isotopes, that is protium, deuterium and tritium. Okay. So this is the atomic number and this is the mass number. So H11, H12 and H13. Okay, this 1 represents its atomic number and 1, 2 and 3 is the mass number. So protium, deuterium and tritium, they are the isotopes of hydrogen. Other example is carbon. Carbon exists as 3 isotopes, C12, 13 and 14. Okay, 6 represents its atomic number. And chlorine, 35 and 37, 17 is its atomic number. Now when we are discussing isotopes, you have to understand that isotopes we said are atoms of the same element having the same atomic number but different mass number. Now all these isotopes have the same chemical properties but different physical properties. All isotopes means chlorine 35, 37, chemical properties will be the same but their physical properties are different. So why that is so? Now you have to understand that on what factor the chemical properties of an element depend upon. So chemical properties of any element depends upon its electronic configuration, or it depends upon its ability to lose electrons, gain electrons or share electrons, right? Chemical reactivity of any atom or any element will depend upon its ability to lose, gain or share electrons. Okay, so means in other words it depends upon the number of electrons. Number of electrons is given by the atomic number or the electronic configuration, right? Now isotopes are having the same atomic number, right? So their chemical properties also will be the same. Now physical properties are dependent on the mass number. Yes, and mass number is different in isotopes because the number of neutrons are different, right? So their physical properties will be different. Okay, so this is asked many times as a give reason, and it is an important give reason, that is isotopes have the same chemical properties but different physical properties. Okay, then if you observe here, atomic mass of chlorine is 35.5. Now we have done different numericals in the first chapter where we calculated the molecular mass. So that time atomic weights were given to you. Now you have to understand why the atomic weight of chlorine is 35.5. It is a fraction and not a whole number. Now chlorine exists as two isotopes 35 and 37. Now atomic mass of any element, it is the weighted average of all the existing isotopes which are present. Okay. Now chlorine is existing as 35 and 37. Now 1 out of every 4 atoms in the nature that exists as Cl37 and the remaining 3 is 35. In other words, you can say that 25% are existing as 37 and 75% are 35, Cl35. Okay. So when you are finding the atomic mass, we said it is the weighted average of all the existing isotopes. So you will do 35 into 3 plus 37 into 1, and total there are 4 atoms, divide by 4. Okay. So 105 plus 37 by 4, which is equal to 142 by 4, which is nothing but 35.5. Okay. Hence atomic mass of chlorine is a fraction and not a whole number. Okay, understood? So this is very important give reason, and the earlier one, that is isotopes are atoms of the same element, means isotopes are having same chemical properties and different physical properties. So two important give reasons are there in this chapter and the definitions which I just explained. Now coming to the reactivity of any element. Now we just said that chemical reactivity of any element depends upon what? Its ability to lose the electrons, gain electrons and or share the electrons, right? Now all these atoms or all the elements, yes, they try to achieve or attain the stable electronic configuration of the nearest noble gas. Nearest noble gas. For example, now hydrogen has atomic number is 1, right? So it will either lose that 1 electron, yes, and it will become H1 plus ion, or it will gain an electron and will achieve the stable electronic configuration of the nearest noble gas, helium. Helium has atomic number 2, right? So all the elements will try to achieve the stable electronic configuration of the nearest noble gas. So that rule is called as either a duplet rule or an octet rule. Duplet means 2 and octet means 8. So when an element has 2 electrons in its valence shell, it is said to satisfy the duplet rule, and when it has 8 electrons in a valence shell, it is said to satisfy the octet rule. Okay. Now same example you can take, say chlorine. Now chlorine atomic number is 17. Okay, so electronic configuration will be what? 2, 8 and 7. Now in order to achieve stability, it will gain 1 electron. It already has 7 electrons in the valence shell, so it will gain 1 electron and it will achieve the electronic configuration of 2, 8 and 8. So 2, 8, 8 is electronic configuration of argon. Okay. So that is what is called as the duplet rule and octet rule. Now noble gases, now you know the noble gases, that is helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon and radon. Okay, these all are the noble gases. Now all these noble gases I have written here, they are inert. Now inert means what? They are chemically non-reactive, or they will not react with other atoms. Okay. Now we just discussed that reactivity depends upon what? The ability to lose, gain or share electrons. Now already noble gases are having a stable electronic configuration, right? Helium has 2 electrons in its valence shell. Then neon is having 8 electrons, 2, 8. Argon also has 8 electrons, 2, 8, 8. Okay, so on. So all these noble gases have either a duplet, helium, or they have an octet of electrons in their valence shell. So because they already have stable electronic configuration, they will neither lose, gain nor share the electrons, right? Therefore they are inert. Okay, so all noble gases therefore are inert. Okay, is it clear? So all this part what I have explained is related to the atomic structure. Okay, atomic structure. Our title of the chapter is atomic structure and chemical bonding. So in atomic structure you have to know all these concepts about atom, element, then the subatomic particles, then the atomic number, mass number, electronic configuration, isotopes, yes, isotopes, and those give reasons which I just explained, and the duplet and octet rule. Okay. Now coming to what is called as the chemical bonding. Yes, now chemical bonding, now chemical bond is the force, or it is the linkage which holds 2 or more atoms together in a molecule. Yes, chemical bond is the force which holds 2 or more atoms together in a molecule. Okay. Now the elements which are involved in chemical bonding. Now which all elements are involved in chemical bonding are the metals and non-metals. Okay. Now metals, when do we say an element is a metal? When it has 1, 2 or 3 electrons in its valence shell. Okay. So what will a metal do? It will readily lose its electron to form electropositive ions called the cations. Okay, this you already know. And non-metals generally have 4, 5, 6 or 7 electrons. 4 is always put in brackets because only carbon which has 4 electrons, that is a non-metal. Whereas the others, that is silicon, germanium, all are metalloids. So a non-metal generally has 4, 5, 6 or 7 electrons in its valence shell, and it will gain electrons to form electronegative ions which are called as the anions. Okay. So metals and non-metals are the ones which are actually involved in the chemical bonding, and why they are involved in chemical bonding is the reason for the chemical reactivity, because they have an unstable electronic configuration. Say sodium 281, magnesium 282. So all their configurations are unstable. So to achieve stability, they are either going to lose electrons or they are going to gain the electrons like chlorine, or they will share the electrons, right? So in an attempt to achieve stability, they will result in formation of bonds with other atoms. Okay. So in order to achieve stability, either there will be transfer of electrons. Yes. Now the transfer of electrons is generally from an electropositive metallic atom. Now I explained what a metal is. So transfer of electron could be from an electropositive metallic atom to an electronegative non-metallic atom. So the compounds or the bond which is formed due to the transfer of electrons is called as an ionic or an electrovalent bond. Okay, understood? What is an ionic or an electrovalent bond? The bond which is formed by the transfer of electrons from an electropositive metallic atom to an electronegative non-metallic atom, okay, is called as a ionic or an electrovalent bond. Okay, and the compound so formed will be called as an electrovalent or ionic compound. So 3 compounds you have in syllabus, that is sodium chloride, magnesium oxide, magnesium chloride and calcium oxide. So their orbital diagrams we have to see, that we will discuss or rather draw during the Zoom session. Okay. So understand what a electrovalent or an ionic bond or a compound is, the one which is formed by transfer of electrons. Okay. Now another means of achieving stability is by sharing of electrons. Okay. Now the bond which is formed by the sharing of electrons between two non-metallic atoms, like say hydrogen. Hydrogen molecule is formed by two hydrogen atoms. So each of the hydrogen atom is going to share its electron with the other atom, right? So it is the sharing of electrons. So that is called as a covalent or a molecular bond. Okay, so the bond which is formed by the sharing of electrons between two non-metallic atoms is called as, in order to achieve stability, is called as a covalent or a molecular bond, and a compound so formed will be called as a covalent or molecular compound. Okay, clear? Okay, so definitions are very important. You have to understand the definitions and you have to know how to draw the orbital structures. Okay, so that I will explain during the Zoom sessions. Actually, we are going to draw the diagrams. Now coming to here, just have a look here. This electrovalent and ionic is by transfer of electrons, and covalent or molecular is by the sharing of electrons. Okay. Now under this covalent, I have written two subparts. This is called as a non-polar and polar. Okay. So a non-polar covalent compound or a bond and a polar covalent compound. Yes. Now you already know an example of a polar covalent compound. Yes. Yes. Very good. Water. Water is a polar covalent compound. Okay. Now just let us understand what is the difference between these two, non-polar covalent compound and a polar covalent compound. Now a non-polar covalent compound is the one in which the shared pair of electrons is distributed equally between the atoms. For example, methane CH4 or carbon tetrachloride CCl4 or oxygen nitrogen. So the shared pair of electrons is between the two oxygen atoms is equally distributed between the two. So it becomes non-polar. But in polar, the shared pair of electrons is unequally distributed between the two. Okay, it is unequally distributed between the two. Like say water, H, O and H, H2O. So H, then a single bond O and single bond H. Okay, so that electron pair which is distributed between hydrogen and oxygen, that electron pair is shifted more towards oxygen because oxygen has an affinity for the electrons. It is more electronegative. So oxygen will develop a positive charge and hydrogen develops a slight develops a negative charge and hydrogen will develop a positive charge. This I had explained when I explained in water why it is a polar covalent compound. So those are polar compounds. Water is one. Other examples of polar compounds are hydrogen chloride, then ammonia. Okay. So all these orbital diagrams we are going to draw during the Zoom session. Okay. So now, so with that we complete all the explanation of the basic concepts which you are required to know in this chapter. Okay, so all this, the theory related to this we will discuss and write again during the Zoom session. Now just try to understand the concepts. So drawing of the orbital diagrams, yes, and the question answers we will do during the Zoom session. So till then, happy studying, stay safe and healthy in the house. Thank you.